Hey there, thank you everyone for making some time to join myself and Adam today. I need to set some context and content of why we are here and why I invited you to watch this call. As you all know, I'm pretty sure you all know that we are basically a virtual assistant and remote team outsourcing service provider. What you may not know, though, is that we are part of somewhat what I call an umbrella industry. Now, what I mean by that is I'm really passionate about this little word called productivity. And I didn't really understand this word in probably the first decade of being an entrepreneur. Let me simplify this word down for you. Productivity to me today means our ability to produce a desired result in the most time efficient way possible in the best emotional state possible. Okay. That's what it means to me. And that's the context of our discussion today. Now, so when did this all change for me? Why? What changed? It was when I read the book, The 4 Hour Work Week. So if you've been on any of my web classes, you probably heard me talk about the 4 Hour Work Week. But there's a few things I took away from that book. One is that, and it's not about working 4 hours a week at all. So my perspective is this: can we reduce the work we do not want to do, to about 2 to 4 hours a week? Because if we're enjoying the work we do, I don't look at that as work. That's part of lifestyle, right? So the concept of the 4 hour work week to me is minimizing what we do to around 2 to 4 hours a week. Now, how do we do that? So we focus as a company on what I call the practical and tactical way of improving productivity, meaning that when we delegate the busy work to a virtual assistant and service provider, etc., we're getting that stuff off our plate. But here's the kicker, right? Here's the kicker. If you've been part of our Thursday calls, you've heard me talk about priority planning, and we talk about how do you use your calendar and what apps you can use to improve productivity. This is all the practical and tactical level of productivity. But there is a layer or layers underneath that. And that's what I want to really talk to you about, not so much me, but I brought in an expert to talk to you about that. So I mentioned I call it productivity behavior modification, which means that I can share all the world's best planners. We can spend 30, $40 on planners and all this kind of stuff. We can hire VAs, and that's all be good too. But until we start to shift our mindset around productivity, our relationship to productivity, and our habits and rituals around productivity, we're doing surface level improvements. I want to go deeper into how do we do this at a mindset and personal level so that we become productive beings. And out of our beingness, we can then amplify the tools and resources that are out there. And that's how we grow multi-million dollar businesses much faster. But again, I'm not the expert in this. So I've asked Adam from Achieve Today to speak to you directly about how do we cultivate this productive mindset, right? Now, Adam has spent the last decade decoding the mysteries of the human mind. He's worked with many of the great in this field, the greats in this field. He's coached students in every state of the US and many countries around the world. He's coached for Brendan Burchard, Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, Nightingale, and Conan Institute. He's studied in the Silver Method, mind developed learning strategies, and he's worked with many other leading companies in the field of personal development. So this is not a new topic. It's not an overnight get certified coach. He has been instrumental in bringing this concept to not just us, but many organizations. Now, in addition, Adam is the creator of the Quantum Meditation Program and the author of the best-selling book, The Secrets as a Man Thinketh. We talk a lot about how we first think through where we are. Adam is referred to as the blockbuster for his ability to identify and eliminate unconscious blocks. Now, what does unconscious blocks have to do with productivity? We're about to find out, right? He's been featured on ABC News, GQ Magazine. He shared the stage with Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank and Willie Robertson from Dynasty. And he recently spoke at the Best You event where he shared the stage with Marie Diamond, Paul McKenna, and other top experts in Europe on this field of personal development. So, without further ado, let's dive into how we start to develop this productive mindset. Adam, let me just turn it over to you.
All right. Hey, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. That was one I could have listened to all day. By the way things were going, I thought I was going to have to for a minute. But no, I appreciate that amazing intro, and I'm excited about this topic. This is my passion because without productivity, nothing happens. If you can have everything you want in life, but if you don't get this piece done, you can master everything else. But if you're not productive, if you waste your time, be careful about wasting time because that is the stuff which life is made of. If you waste your time, and we've got a lot of people wasting time right now. Where are we wasting time? 90% of us are wasting it right here. You're staring at a screen. I just watched a study where the younger generation, 93% of their waking hours is going to be wasted looking at a phone screen. It's just absolutely crazy. Now, I've got a confession to make. Before I started this, I used to call myself the world's biggest procrastinator. And I would tell myself all the time, I'll do it tomorrow, right? I'll overcome my problems tomorrow. I'm a co-founder of a company called Achieve Today. And we use the word today very intentionally because so many of us are constantly in the mindset of, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And as you were saying, to your point, so many of us, we have all the skills, right? You could have all the skill set, but if you miss up that mindset, then it doesn't matter how much skills you have. And what we see often in personal development is so many people out there that are perpetual learners. They're perpetually learning the next tool, the next gimmick, the next way to enhance their productivity. All the while, they're not getting anything done. I remember listening to a story. I think it was Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich. I think that's where the story comes from. But he was looking out the window at a gentleman in New York City. He was a hot dog salesman, and he's organizing the hot dogs, right? So he's over there organizing the hot dogs, and he's cooking the hot dogs, and then he would sweep the floor. All the while, customers are walking by, right? Customers are just walking by, and he's organizing, and he looks busy, right? But he's not focused on the needle moving activities. He's not focused on, look at the customers that are right in front of you. I love it when I say, Adam, I just don't know who to contact. I don't know. Go out to eat. You're going to be surrounded by 500 people, right? There's people everywhere. Just start opening your mouth and start looking for what are the most important needle moving activities in your life. I've got to say that this goes way beyond skill set because let's be honest, if all of it was skill set, all we should have to do is tell people, do this, and they'd be successful, right? Tim Ferriss, the 4 Hour Work Week, he's got phenomenal tips. Just have all your clients read that book and they should be able to do it. Then why aren't there more millionaires in the world? Why aren't there more wealthy people? Why aren't there more healthy people? Because knowledge is not power, it's the correct application of power. But there's a little thing we call limiting beliefs. And this thing we call the subconscious mind. That the sad thing I often say is that more people know more about their smartphones than their smart mind. You have to understand this. I want you to, if you're watching and recording this, most like you are, you might be watching the recording, maybe you're here live, but I want you to just imagine for a moment that you're only this far away from anything you want in life. I've never forgotten that. You're this far away, right there. You're that far away from anything you want in life. So why is it that I wanted to succeed? I wanted to become a world-class coach. I wanted to do all these things, but I just couldn't do it. I wasn't taking the action. Why? And I'm going to share some things about how the mind works and what might be holding you back. In order to understand how to get to where you want to be, you have to understand the fundamentals of human behavior and what drives human behavior. Fundamentally, this is my working theory. To the best of my knowledge, after coaching, I did the numbers the other day. It's something like 27,000 people have gone through my programs, 10,000 people I've coached one-on-one, 200 coaches that I've certified. And after all of that, I do have a theory of how this all works. The first thing we have to understand is that people, we do things based on emotion. Emotion is a key driver of human behavior. Emotion is a key driver of human behavior. Ask any salesperson and they'll tell you people buy based on emotion and they justify with logic and reason. Okay, any behavior you're doing right now, we can pinpoint it to an emotion. I had a preacher tell me, he got a little defensive and he said, Adam, I don't believe that. I said, wonderful, please debate me. What's your argument against that? And he goes, I just don't believe everything's based on emotion because I give money to my church. How can you tell me that's based on emotion? I'm doing a good thing for my church. And I said, why do you do that? He said, I do it because it feels good. And I said, okay, do you want to just pause a minute? What did you just say? And he's, oh, I did just say that, didn't I? I'm doing it because it feels good. Every behavior, no matter what it is driven by an emotion. But here's the problem. So many people are waiting to feel the emotion until after the goal is achieved. What we say is assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. What does that mean? Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. What does that mean? It means, what is it going to feel like to achieve your goal, to start $1 million company, to retire in Hawaii, or whatever your goal is? What is that going to feel like? And the secret is to feel it now. Why? Because emotion is directly tied to your thoughts. Thoughts are tied to behaviors. Behaviors are tied to results. Okay. So we've got to look at what are the blocks? What are the things that get in the way of people succeeding? What we found is that there's 5 core limiting beliefs. If you've done any studies or read any personal development books, you've probably heard of this. This isn't new, but you've heard these 5 things. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy. Fear of failure, fear of success. Now, the first 3 are really interesting because they have the word I or I am. One of the things we always say in personal development is be careful when you say I am, because whatever follows I am will follow you. So if you're going around saying, Adam, I'm just not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm too old, I'm too young, anytime you use a self-identifying word, be careful. Self-identity is everything. That's the second key piece of human behavior. How you see yourself is driving your behaviors. Now, I've heard this, and most of you have heard this, but I want to go a little bit deeper than what we've just heard. And I want to go to a place where you understand and you know how to apply and have that experiential learning with me. So let's do a thought experiment. Okay. I want you to imagine yourself for a moment to be the president of the United States, or maybe the prime minister, or the king, or the queen, wherever part of the world you're from. But imagine you're the leader of your country and you really believe that to be true right now. You're fully bought in, right? How many of your thoughts, behaviors, and results would be driven by that belief? I've asked that to thousands of people. You want to know the most common response? Most people say most of them, if not all of them. That's right. So if all of your behaviors or most of your behaviors are driven by how you see yourself, here's the $1 million question. Does your current self-identity align with the goals you say you have? Because you might say, Adam, I want to be a millionaire, but you don't see yourself that way. You still see yourself as being broke or stuck or not enough or broken or whatever it is, but it's not in alignment with the goal. And as long as there's that disalignment there, what's going to happen if you have a low self-esteem or a low self-image and all of a sudden you achieve a certain level of success? We see this in lottery winners. So many people think it's they just don't have the right skill set to manage the money. That's part of it. But I think a massive part of lottery winners, the reason why 70% of them are broke within 3 to 5 years, is they didn't have the mindset for wealth and abundance. They didn't have a success consciousness. So there, as the quote goes, I pity the man or woman whose bank account grows and they don't. If your bank account grows, Jim Rohn used to put it this way: personal income is a lot like personal development. Okay. You either grow to where it is or it will come back to where you are. Okay. So personal income is directly tied to your personal development. So if you pass your current self identity with money, you're going to start doing what we call self sabotage. This is where the wrong thoughts, the wrong behaviors, the wrong attitudes, the things happen where the ego starts to sabotage to bring you back down to where it thinks you should be or how you see yourself. Does that make sense? And so as long as that's happening in your life, you're going to go through life reaching a certain level of success, self-sabotaging, coming back to where you were or lower, and just constantly doing this pattern. Some of you have lived this way. Some of you know this. Some of you even know that I just feel, because I talk to clients, I hack into people's brains for a living, and so many people tell me, Adam, I feel that I should be successful, and I know I can be successful, but I reach a certain level of success and then something happens and I just I self-sabotage. And you go back and you have to understand that this all happens at an unconscious level. Most of us are not even aware of it. Okay. That's the scary part. Let me give an example. The first time I learned about the subconscious and learning about the mind and hypnosis and meditation and how to train the mind, I decided to utilize it for weight loss. I wanted to lose some weight. And so I did it. And within 2 weeks, I had hit my weight goal. And I was blown away by this. I went to my wife and I said, I can't believe it. I hit my weight goal. And I didn't even do anything. And she looked at me and said, what are you talking about? You've been eating better. You've been working out. You've been doing this and this. And she listed off all these things. And I looked at her and I said, I have? At that moment, I realized I had unconsciously programmed myself. My behaviors were automatic. How many times have you blinked since you've been on the phone or the call with us? How many times have you breathed? How many times has your heart been beating? How would you like your productivity to be as consistent and persistent as your heart beats? As you breathe, we call this habit creation. But the problem is, so often people plant habits without aligning the self identity. And now you've got a conflict, right? Because when these habits go against the self identity, is going to win at the end of the day. You might have a habit short term, but it's always going to come back to your default mode or the factory settings, as we like to say. You're going to go back to factory settings sooner or later. And you're going to go right back down to that old self identity that doesn't serve you. So, how do we apply this? How do we overcome this? How do we take action on this? And that's what I want to talk about with you right now. And I want to give you a few formulas, if that's okay, a few things that I found can really help you. Now, I will give you a word of warning because I remember hearing a guy that sounded just like me. And I was the person in the audience that said, this sounds BS. I didn't say BS, but I said, this isn't true. This doesn't work. The subconscious and all this. But I'll never forget my mentor, what he said to me when I started to doubt all this. I was doubting what he was saying. He said, Adam, how big's your bank account? And I said, at the time I was broke, I said, I'm struggling financially and I'm not doing very well. And he said, and how big's mine? And I said, well, I know you're a multimillionaire and you're very successful. He said, does the possibility exist that you don't get it? And I was like, yeah. It was like that humility piece of, yeah, maybe there's something that I'm missing. Maybe there's a secret that I'm missing. And if I could learn this one thing. So I think that's a huge part of it, is just stay really open to this. I don't even tell people to believe me. I don't care if you believe me or don't believe me. But what I'd want you to do is at least put it to the test. Is that fair enough? At least experiment with it. If I'm crazy, either I'm super crazy or, hey, maybe I've got a track record of 20 years getting results with people consistently over and over. Maybe there's something to this. And so here's the first thing that I'd like to propose if you want to be more productive in your life. Number one is you got to get really clear about what you want. How are you going to? I see so many people out there just starting a business, but they don't really have a game plan. To really maximize your productivity, you've got to be incredibly intentional. As my mentor would always say, a life lived with intentionality is a life well lived. So step number one is to know what you don't want. I break down life into 4 categories. I get we're all in this for business, right? We want to go make a lot of money. That's awesome. But here's the thing. What good is making a lot of money if you die of a heart attack once you get there? Sincerely, people have to think about that. What good is it if you die? What good is it if you get there and you've destroyed all your relationships? What good is it if you've lost your soul along the way? Okay? I've seen people that have made money the only priority in their life, and they are downright miserable people. Okay? Trust me, I work with some of the world's most successful people, millionaires, even billionaires I've coached. And I've hacked into their brains and see how they work. And I've seen the behind the scenes, the stuff beyond the Instagram post, beyond the, oh, my life's perfect stuff. Okay, let's get real. It's not like that for a lot of people unless they're focused on these 4 key things. And what lights me up and gets me excited, yes, I want you to have a phenomenal business. Yes, I want you to crush it with where you're at, but that's only a piece of the pie. I want you to have these 4 other key areas of your life mastered as well. Number one is your health. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. My mentor would always say, Adam, the man with His health has 1,000 dreams. The man who has lost his health has but one. Okay, so health is number one. You got to take care of your health. By the way, I'm going to just be really clear. If you haven't noticed yet, we're being poisoned. Okay, I want some people out there to wake up. Food color red 40. How many of you know that actually creates ADHD? How many carcinogenic chemicals are put into your food, the foods you're eating every day? You don't think that food you're eating is going to impact your mindset, your emotional state, and your productivity? If you don't think that's impacting you, you're lying to yourself. There's an app that I'm going to highly recommend everybody get because I think it's an eye opener. And I got a question for you. How many of you would buy a different toothpaste if you knew scientifically that what's in the toothpaste was causing cancer? How many of you would choose a different toothpaste if you knew that for a fact? Right? And I'm talking like double blind studies. I can show you the evidence. I'm not just talking just to talk. I could take you to the PubMed and we can go read the literature on it. Okay, but we might shift behavior if we had the knowledge, right? There's an app called Yuka, Yuka. Okay, Yuka, I use this. You can scan anything with a barcode as far as food and cosmetics, and it will give you a rating on a scale from 0 to 10. Okay. Now, why do I have to talk about this? This seems so far away from mindset because your health is the soil for a healthy mind. If we can't get this fundamentally down, which, by the way, in the United States of America, if you haven't noticed, we're failing miserably here in this country with our health. And because we are being poisoned, best case scenario by accident, worst case scenario on purpose. And we can get into a whole discussion on the whole money making machine later on. But for right now, I want you to take care of that and be very healthy. So decide what you don't want with your health. Well, Adam, I don't want disease anymore. Adam, I don't want chronic stress. I don't want chronic pain. Whatever that is, write it down. What do you not want with your relationships? Harvard School of Science did one of the biggest studies in the world, 75-year study on happiness. The number one thing that contributes to your happiness beyond anything else, beyond money, beyond all these other things, is the quality of your relationships. So where's the quality of your relationships? That's a huge thing, number two. So we've got health, relationships. Number three is spirituality. By the way, it's only been in the really ever since the dropping of the atomic bomb and mankind really shifted to be almost anti-religion, right? Anti-spirituality. But if you look pre 1950 or 1940s, before that, everybody believed in a higher power. Everybody was spiritual. So I want you to know that if you are anti-spirituality, just know that you are in the minority by far in humanity, in the whole existence of humanity. You are a small sliver. You are massively in the minority of people, of all the life and all the experiences. And I'm not telling anybody what to believe. I'm not here to preach to anybody, but find whatever you define as your higher power, the universe, the God, Buddha, Gandhi, Muhammad, whatever it is. Find that highest power. Find your truth and live it to the best of your abilities. Finally, we get to success. Okay? Notice success comes last. My mentor, who started storage unit businesses, became very successful, but he neglected three things. He said, Madam, I learned something in life. In life, you have three crystal balls. You have your health, you have your relationships, you have your spirituality. That's it. Everything else is a rubber ball. And we're juggling these three crystal balls. If you drop one of those crystal balls, sometimes they shatter and they become irreparable, right? It's very hard to put back together again. Money, success, fame, that's all rubber balls. That's all stuff that doesn't last. If you drop one, it bounces, it comes right back up. And so be careful about dropping those crystal balls. Because if you shatter one of those, you could pass the point of no return. So once we decide what we don't want in those four key areas, then we dive into what we do want. And it's more than just making these ambiguous statements. Most people are walking ambiguities. I ask them what they want. They say, I want to be wealthy. What does that mean? Wealthy. If we're talking to somebody in a third world country, having an extra $1,000 a year is considered really wealthy, right? There's certain people in Peru that live off of $2,000 a year. That's wealthy. So I want you to get specific. What does wealth mean to you? Be specific, be detailed, write it out. In fact, one of my favorite books is Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold. That's a phenomenal book. It will show you how to really create a vision that's realistic, that's not wishful thinking. Yes, I work with a lot in the mind, but I'm also a very practical man. I don't want anybody getting into wishful thinking with this. Oh, I can just visualize or do this and I'm going to get there. That's not how it works. But I do know if you have the right mindset and skill set, it can be an incredible tool. So once you define what you do want, I do recommend setting a 3-year goal. Reach out about 3 years. 1 year is a bit too short, 5 years is too long, but 3 years, 36 months. That gives you a good time to accomplish a big goal, something that you're excited about. We call this the big, hairy, audacious goal, that goal that excites you and thrills you. By the way, Elon Musk would always say, take your 10-year goals and attempt to do it in 6 months. Okay. How many of you have attempted something like that? A 10-year goal and try to get it done in 6 months. It was funny because for my last book, for whatever reason, it was taking me a long time to write. I started this book in 2015. I was procrastinating. It wasn't until a student and I talked about we could get this done in a weekend if we wanted. And we made a commitment. We said to each other, come hell or high water, we are going to get this book done. And let me tell you, when we said that, all hell did get unleashed. I shouldn't have said that. I got to knock on wood. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong on that weekend. I had a day of work got erased on the computer, and then my child got sick, and then one of my sons that has oppositional defiance disorder, he was having an episode. It was just insane. Everything broke out on that weekend, but I'd made a commitment. Some of us aren't productive right now because you want success, but you haven't committed to it. And there's a big difference in coaching. Immediately when I coach someone, I can tell how committed someone is. You can hear it in their voice. There's a difference when I ask somebody to do something, they go, oh yeah, I'll get it done, versus, okay, yeah, Adam, I'm going to get that done. Could you hear the difference there? You can hear it in how you speak. One of my all-time favorite stories, and I think this relates to productivity because you got to be committed. This is a mindset thing. You got to commit at a deeper level. Some of you don't know the level of commitment it takes to build something great, to build something lasting, to leave a legacy. This is beyond when people go, Adam, you're a mindset coach. I haven't just signed up for this on a weekend and done a $13 certification course. I dedicated my life to this. Okay, my life is dedicated to this work. I will die for this. That's how powerfully I believe in it. That's where I'm coming from with commitment. Anybody who's achieved anything great in life, they have had a deep commitment. Some of you may have heard this. This is one of my all-time favorite stories about commitment. And we know commitment ties directly into productivity. And the commitment, there was a wise man meditating under a tree. And this young man came to him and said, Master, I want what you have. You have health. You have the great relationships. You're respected in the community. You have finances galore. You have all these amazing things. I want what you have. He said, be here at 4 a.m. tomorrow. So he showed up at 4 a.m. And he said, okay, good. Now let's walk out to the water together. So they walked out to the water. The water was rising until it came to his neck. He said, how much deeper are we going to go? He said, keep going. And he got all the way up to his nose. And then the mentor grabbed his head and held him under the water. And he's holding them and he's struggling him. I don't know if you've ever been held out underwater before. If you have brothers, I'm sure you have, right? I've got 3 brothers. It's not a fun experience because when you're held underwater, every minute feels like a lifetime, right? If you don't know if the person's going to let you up or not, it's terrifying. He held his head underwater to the point right before he was about to pass out. And finally, he let him up and he gasped for air. And he looked at him and said, as soon as you want what I have, as badly as you wanted air, then you will have it. Some of you are showing up in your life with what I call soy boy energy. Okay? Soy boy energy. That's weak people of the world. You're showing up wanting to succeed, but you're not committing to success. You don't want it badly enough. You've got to want this like you want air. That's when you'll start to see the right people, the right resources start to show up. So that's steps 1 and 2. Number one, decide what you don't want. Number two, decide what you do want. Of course, commit to it. Don't want it, but you got to commit. This is beyond wanting to commitment. Number three is you've got to get rid of your limiting beliefs that I'm not enough. I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy. Fear of failure, fear of success. I'm too old. I'm too young. There's a million limiting beliefs. But I want you to pay very close attention to your internal dialogue. It was funny because I told my mentor, I said, I can't motivate myself to work out. And he said, okay, next time you work out, I want you to work out, but I want you to listen to your internal dialogue. Really pay attention to it. So as I'm doing the bench press, I heard the internal dialogue of, oh, this is terrible. I don't like this. Oh, this is painful. It was all this negative self-talk. No wonder I didn't like to work out. No wonder we're putting off doing our goals. Listen to your self-talk. Listen to all the associative pain you've been creating in your life. And you've got a mountain of it. And then you wonder why you're procrastinating, why you're putting things off, why you can't motivate yourself, right? You've got all this pain that's stopping you from success. I want to show you a hack today that will help you. If you want to very quickly overcome a lot of stuff, I'm all about the hack and the shortcut, right? As long as it works, right? Gets you results. One of the greatest hacks for overcoming procrastination and getting into productivity is you've got to create what's called a pleasure pain imbalance. All of us are driven by those two core fundamental emotions of pleasure and pain. We're constantly in the pursuit of pleasure and we're trying to avoid pain. Every human being, fundamentally, that is a truism, right? If you don't believe me, go put your hand on a hot stove and watch how fast the behavior of moving your hand happens, right? You are in a state of constantly avoiding pain and trying to pursue pleasure. This client had came to me and she had a productivity problem, a procrastination problem. She said, Adam, I'm just not doing the work. I know my KPIs, my key performance indicators, but I'm just not doing it. I need your help. Now, this was when I was a newer coach and I didn't know all the things I know now. But I said to her, I want you to just, let's come up with your KPIs. I'll hold you accountable and let's get out there and do it. The first week went by, she came back and she wasn't prepared. I said, did you do the work? She goes, no, I didn't do the work. I said, why? Because I just had this come up, that come up, this come up. So I decided to play the tough coach, right? Hey, you're going to waste a lot of money if you don't do this. You got to do it. I really came down on her and said, hey, make it happen or you're wasting my time. She said, okay, I'm going to do it. She came back the next week. Still wasn't done. Same excuses. Oh, I just didn't have the time. I didn't have this. So I feel like we're in Groundhog's Day. And I got to get really honest with you. This isn't working, is it? She goes, Adam, I got to be honest. I really do want to do it. I just don't know why I'm not doing it. And I knew she was sincere. She wasn't lying to me. I think consciously she wanted to do it, but subconsciously something was pulling her away. We couldn't figure out what that was. But I said, you know what? If we can make the pain so high of not doing it, we can alter that pleasure pain imbalance and we can get you to take action. She said, how are we going to do that? And I said, I want you to put something on the line. I want you to think of an amount of money that if you lost it, it would be incredibly painful. It's not going to make you destitute. I'm not here to make you destitute, but it would cause a lot of pain in your life. What would that amount be? And she told me the amount. I said, perfect. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to track these KPIs. We're going to be radically transparent and radically honest with each other. She agreed to screenshotting the phone calls and texting them to me. You got to be radically honest with your coach. And I always tell people, I trust you, but I do verify, right? It's not that I don't trust you. I just don't trust human nature. There's a difference. I know human nature all too well. Okay, so I want you to do these KPIs. And if you don't, we're going to donate this money that you're putting on the line to your least favorite charity. Now, if she was Republican, I was going to send it to the Democratic Party. If she's Democratic, I'm going to send it to the Republican Party. Okay. She laughed at that and said, oh, I don't want to send it to this person. No way. And so I said, okay, we got to do the work. Okay. She said, okay. That next week she came back. The homework was done. The next week, by the end of the month, she had been making so much money, it caught the attention of all the executives at the company. They actually invited her to come out and speak in front of 6,000 people. Okay. She said, Adam, it's funny because I wouldn't do it for this massive amount of money that I'm now making, but I did all this because I was afraid of losing that tiny bit of money. Okay, so this also hacks into a psychological principle called loss aversion. They use this in Vegas and gambling and all sorts of things, but it is a true powerful psychological technique that you can use in your life. But for it to work, if you want to use this technique, you need somebody who is unbiased, who's going to hold you accountable, and you've got to be willing to put some money on the line and to be radically authentic and transparent with them. And then once you set up your KPIs, you basically set that money aside or hand it over to that person that's mentoring you so that if you don't hit that goal, you got to give up that money. Let me tell you, you want to talk about a mindset hack that works? I have 100% success rate on that. Oh, go ahead. Oh, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
I had a question. What about people who are adverse to putting money on the line? They feel it's unethical or they whatever. Is there another technique similar to that for people who just have I've attempted that in the past with a few people, and they just would not commit. Is that they're just internal mechanism, just saying, yeah, I'm not that committed in the first place. How do you die?
Yeah, I would say if you're giving them a solution, I think of my mentor used to tell me this story. It's funny. So my mentor was a famous psychologist and he was world renowned and he helped a lot of people do things. And a client came to him and said, I have this problem. And he said, what's that? And he goes, my wife and I, when we go to the cabin, we drink for the whole week we're up there. And I'm tired of it. They drink so much that they couldn't remember what happened while they were up there. It was a problem. And his mentor said, how far away is the farthest liquor store? And he said, oh, it's 10 miles. He said, okay. Is there any chance you'd walk to that liquor store naked? He goes, oh, of course not. He said, okay, perfect. I want you to have a good friend drop you and your wife off naked at the cabin. And I want you to have a wonderful weekend with no clothes. And they're like, would that work? He goes, I know it would work. I'm not going to do that. And he just said to them, then I guess you're not that committed now, are you? So sometimes people will find a solution and it works and they're telling you it works. But if there's resistance to that, that just tells you that at the end of the day, they're really not that committed. And it didn't really matter what you were going to do with them. So when a client comes to me for coaching, you best be ready to do what we ask, right? If I say the sky's green, the sky's green. But if you show up with that energy of, that's not going to work for me, or, oh, I'm not going to do that, then at the end of the day, you're not ready for coaching now, are you? Because if you're hiring me to get you to where you want, in a way, you have to turn yourself over to your coach because your thinking got you to where you're at, right? It's going to take someone else's thinking to get you to where you want to be. So I would really reflect on the commitment level. And there's probably some self-sabotaging limiting beliefs that are preventing them from doing it. Like I said, it's not a big deal. If they go, that's just not ethical, it's okay. Let's do something different then. I've had somebody who has committed to eating 12 raw eggs if they don't reach their goal. I've had somebody commit to posting something embarrassing on Facebook. They've given me their username and password. Like I said, if they're that committed, you're going to do what it takes. But if they're resisting you on that, tells me, you know what, you're really not ready for coaching. Come back to me. At that point, I would probably dismiss my client. My clients know that I don't mess around. Okay, if you're going to coach with me, I'm going to get results with you. And you better be willing to do whatever it takes because once you cross that line and say, hey, I'm now coming into Adam's world because now you got to understand that my reputation's on the line. And I don't take that lightly. I have a phenomenal reputation in the marketplace for getting results because it comes with an expectation. And so if people are not doing as a coach what you're recommending by the time they come into the program, then what that tells me is that the expectations weren't set correctly in the initial consultation that you had with them, right? That expectation of, if I ask you to do something, I need you to do it. It might sound crazy. It might sound different. Hey, staying naked in a cabin, that sounds crazy, but guess what? You're going to get a result, okay? You're going to get a result. It doesn't matter if it sounds crazy. Yeah, lots of things might sound crazy, but I'm in an industry where I don't get paid if I don't get results. That makes sense? And I like getting paid. I have a family of 4 kids. I like them to eat, especially with all the inflation going on nowadays. Okay. I want them to thrive and do well. And in order to do that, I need clients that are going to play by the rules. If you're here and you're willing to coach, you got to play by the rules. If not, what I would say very respectfully, then you're not ready to be coached, or maybe you should coach with somebody else who's willing to let you do whatever you want, because at that point, you're coaching yourself.
Hey, great. Thanks for sharing, Adam.
Yeah, you bet. How we doing on time? Any
We're good.
questions that you have, or
No, I think, yeah, I think we've got to point number three. I think we've got point four and five to go.
thank you. Yeah. So number three, now this is the most important step. So if you have to highlight this or circle it, please do so because it is vital. This is the number one reason people fail. It's the secret to the secret. Literally, I've met with 4 of the people on the movie The Secret. This idea that your thoughts can create your reality, which to a large extent I do believe is true. And interesting things, they said we left this one part out. And I said, why would you leave this one part out? It's so vital. And the answer was, it was a bit disheartening, but they told me that we left it out because we were afraid we'd have nothing else to sell our clients. I went, oh, that explains why half the people that watch it succeed and the other half don't, because you're not getting the full picture. The full picture was this part about limiting beliefs and these subconscious blocks and how to remove them. And so, removing limiting beliefs, what we're doing when we do this, and we do this in the coaching, it is disassociating the negative emotions. Remember, emotions drive human behavior, key driver of it anyway. Disassociating the emotions attached to the belief. That's number one. Number two is creating a new self identity. I call this a self identity avatar. A self identity avatar. So, giving yourself even a new name. I used to go by Adam Mortimer, but that H in the middle of my name, I started going by Adam H. Mortimer. Have you ever noticed successful people that have a middle initial? Notice that? Wealthy people, successful people, they put in the middle initial. So I said, you know what? That's me. That's who I am. That's my identity. And so to me, that H is my Superman cape. And so as I'm going throughout my day, I can ask myself, am I showing up as Adam Mortimer, little me, or am I showing up as Adam H. Mortimer? How am I showing up today? And just checking in with that self identity and how you see yourself consistently. But number three is to clear those limiting beliefs, turning off the negative emotions attached to those belief systems. Doing that consistently and over time will give you the chance to start the process of creating a new habit of thought in your mind. Number four is to what's called Neville'ize your goal. This comes from Neville Goddard. This is assume the state of the wish fulfilled or assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So to visualize your emotions, visualize this, visualize it with emotion. So see it as if it's already here. Now, a lot has been spoken about with visualization, but I want to give you a little bit more insight about why. Because we've learned a lot about the brain with the invention of the MRI machine. Do you know that your optic nerve plugs directly into the reptilian part of the brain? This is the part of the brain that controls the autonomous functions of your body, like your breathing, your heart rate, all of this. Vision, that optic nerve plugs right into it. And this is why you can be walking down the road and you can see a stick and you're jumping, your body's automatically reacting before you consciously even register that. Anybody else had that experience? You walk down and you, boom, you're jumping, and then your mind catches up. Oh, I must have thought that was a snake or something. Okay, so let's not pretend and think we're in total control of our actions and behaviors. You're not. In fact, scientists, neuroscientists, the best of the best in the world, are now saying, they used to say 90% of the mind's controlled by the subconscious. They have now, I've heard quotes as high as 99% of your life is driven by the subconscious mind. So if you're trying to succeed without understanding this powerful force in your life, good luck. Not sincerely, good luck. You are fighting an uphill battle. Trying to succeed without understanding the mind is like trying to stop a freight train by using a soda can. It's not going to work. The subconscious at the end of the day is going to win. The best you can do is understand it, understand the rules, the laws that it works by, what governs this powerful force in the mind, and utilize that to channel it towards your goals and your productivity. Finally, step number 5 is to let go. You got to have that faith and that trust. I think of this like planting the seeds in the garden of your mind. We'll make sure they're natural, non-GMO seeds, right? We're going to plant those good organic seeds in the garden, heirloom seeds in the garden of your mind. And we're going to water it. How do we water it? With faith, belief, and action, inspired action, not just action, but inspired action. So it's not just, oh, yeah, I want to do this or that. It's no, listen to that gut feeling. Listen to your inspiration. If the thought comes up in your mind, hey, you should really call this person. You might not know why you're being prompted or inspired to do it, but act on it immediately. Follow your gut and fine tune that intuition within you. I've found through years and years of coaching, if you trust it, you're not going to be led astray. There's so much information that you have access to that's not registering consciously. We often say that the conscious mind is the least informed and last to know. Okay? Your conscious mind, there's so much that is being hidden from your subconscious, which is why you've got to trust that gut, trust those intuitions. Case in point, they had a gentleman in a MRI machine, and they gave him a red button and a green button. And they said, push this button as soon as you consciously become aware of what button to push. And so right when the thought would pop in his mind, he'd push the button. The scientists could predict with a 90% accuracy, 7 seconds in advance, what button he was going to push by the blood flow in the brain. This is all happening subconsciously. So we have to stop kidding ourselves thinking that all of our actions are conscious. 99% of them are subconscious. And if you don't grasp that concept, you're fighting yourself and you're going to fight an uphill battle. And if you don't understand that, at the end of the day, it will not matter what skill set you have. As amazing as skill set is, as amazing as Tim Ferriss is, it will not matter because you have a mind that is fighting against you. And so this is why it's so important to have a coach. This is why it's so important to have somebody to help you, somebody that understands these things. And there's so many voices, so many things out there. Watch the results. Who are the people out there crushing it? Who are the people that are getting results? Who are the people that have at least a 20 years experience doing this? You don't want to trust your mind to just anybody. You want to trust it to somebody who has a proven track record of getting results. And that's what this is about today. So with that, my friend, we'll turn the time back over to you.
Well, I truly appreciate it. I have a few questions. I think these questions, reflect something that I've questioned as well, and maybe some of the people who are watching this. So first and foremost, the difference between a workshop and coaching. So let me, again, using myself as an example. When I first started to understand this, and I told you about reading Tim Ferriss' book, I went through a series of workshops. They were good, but it wasn't until I got coaching that things started changing. But can you just explain why workshops is not a de facto for good coaching?
Because you don't know what you don't know. And when you go to a workshop, often it's going to be more of a lecture, right? So you're listening to somebody, you're taking notes. You might have time to ask a few questions here or there, but there's really not that one-on-one interaction. When I sit down with somebody and really talk with them, I can hear their limiting beliefs just in their voice. They might not even know what questions to ask. That's the problem. We often say, if you want to improve the quality of your life, improve the quality of your questions. So working with somebody one-on-one, they get to hear your voice, they get to interact with you, they get to understand your background. And by doing that, they can really customize the approach. There's also a big level of accountability. Let's all admit it, right? When we go to workshops, it's great and we feel motivated. And then 3 days after, we're usually back to where we started. It's just how it goes. But when you're working with a mentor and somebody's holding you accountable week by week, somebody that knows you, somebody that really has gotten to understand the things that have held you back, somebody that has dialed in and understands that, hey, if I tell my coach that I didn't have time to do the homework this week, he's actually going to call me out and have me send me he's going to have me send me my screen time. I've done that with people. Hey, open up your phone right now. Send me, oh, I didn't get the homework done this week, Adam. Okay, snapshot your screen time to me and send it over to me. Oh, you spent 2 hours on social media, 4 hours doing this, 4 hours doing that, 5 hours messing around on the internet, and you didn't have 1 hour to do what I'm asking you to do. Oh, it usually only takes one call out when clients realize, oh, I'm going to hold their feet to the fire. They're like, I'm not doing that anymore. I don't want to be called out. And that's not a bad thing. I do it out of love, but at the same time, I'm going to be real honest with you. Okay, but back to your original question, what's the difference? Workshop is more reactive, right? They're just dumping information on you, where coaching is very proactive. It's going to be very conversational. I take a very Socratic approach. In fact, I'm only going to be speaking in our calls about 30% of the time. You're going to be speaking about 70%. Okay. I always remind my coaches that I train, your job is not to lift the weights for your client. Okay. If they hired a personal trainer, let them lift the weights. My job's not here to give you every single answer. I will put the puzzle pieces on the table, but I'm going to sit and watch you figure it out and make sure you figure it out properly. So I think speed is a big one. If you want to get there faster, a one on one coach is night and day. I watched YouTube videos on pole vaulting. I used to be a pole vaulter back in the day. And I watched YouTube videos and trainings, and these were some of the best trainers in the world, right? Some of them were Olympic gold medalist YouTube trainers. It wasn't until I had a coach, by the way, this coach pole vaulted in college. He never made it to the Olympics, but I improved in 2 feet in 1 week with a coach versus months and months of listening to the best Olympic coaches. Isn't that funny? So that's the difference here between kind of that reactive type learning versus that one on one customized approach. It's going to speed things up dramatically.
Okay, thank you. And why Achieve Today? And if
Mhm.
you heard me talk about my relationship with Achieve Today, I've been looking high and low for a partner to really help our clients with what I term as productivity behavior modification, which is basically the mindset aspect of it. But why Achieve Today? What is it you guys do differently to the industry that has made you and so successful, and the impact you're having on all the clients that you guys are working with?
I think it's a lot of what we've been talking about today, our knowledge and our ability to effectively dive in and help people find and clear limiting beliefs. I mean, our knowledge of that is something a lot of people give that lip service, but to the fact that we're able to dive in and get those massive results. At the end of the day, why Achieve Today? Go look at the results. Go do your research. Achieve Today coaching reviews. Go look at what we've done. Go look at the partners that we've worked with, the Zig Ziglars, the Brennan Burchards, the Les Browns. These are the top of the top names in personal development that partner with us. So the question is, if the best of the best out there are choosing Achieve over everybody else, what does that tell you? These are people that have years and years in the industry working with the mind, and they choose Achieve Today to do this. And so that's the biggest why is just look at who chooses us, one. But the next big thing you've got to look at is results, right? At the end of the day, that's what everybody's after. You wouldn't be working with a coach if it wasn't going to get results, right? Well, go do your research. Go look on the Better Business Bureau. Go look at Achieve Today coaching reviews. Go do your homework. We've been doing this for years and years, and we have a pristine coaching. We have a pristine reputation. And here's the thing, we're not low tier coaching, we are high end coaching. Okay. This is not the $20 course you're going to get online. This is high end, high results. These are people that want to go out there and crush it. And so, a question that I would raise, if clients were paying thousands of dollars, people do pay us thousands of dollars to work with them, and if we weren't doing a good job, what do you think would happen to our reputation? How fast do you think Achieve Today's reputation would be ruined online with the Google reviews, the Facebook reviews, the Better Business Bureau reviews, all the ways to review a company? Yet we have a phenomenal reputation. We have the best of the best names out there that work with us. But at the end of the day, it really just boils down to results. So why Achieve Today? We're going to get you results.
That's awesome. And one of the things people, when they first come to us to hire a virtual assistant, they might use the words like, "Oh, we want to hire a great virtual assistant, a rock star virtual assistant." And secretly in my mind, I'm going, and I'd love to have a rock star, great client, right? And between where most people are and what they believe is greatness there's a right.
Yeah,
And what makes a good client? Obviously, you
yeah.
can help a very wide range of people, but you said it's your reputation on the line. You need to get clients that are willing to do work. But what does that mean in terms of a good client for you?
Yeah, this is such a great question. When I look at a great client, the first thing is I would say there's three core things. Number one, they're going to put in the time. Okay. You got to do the work. If you're going to show up and not do the work, or if you have a history of not following through, not making it happen, this might not be for you, right? We want people that are going to show up and they're going to have that level of commitment, right? Then I'm going to do the work. I'm going to do what my coach asked me. That's the mindset I'd want you to show up with. Number two is you got to be willing to put money on the line. Obviously, this isn't free. What do you think happens when I coach people for free? Which I've tried in the past. I promised myself I'll never do that again. It was a colossal waste of my time. They didn't show up on time for the sessions. The homework wasn't done. They had no skin in the game. So you got to be willing to put something on the line. I think that's a big part of being able to be coached. And then there's got to be a certain level of motivation. I don't want to have to call you and get you out of bed every morning to do the work. If you don't have that certain level of being a self-starter, being motivated, then that's probably not going to be a good fit. I love clients that are humble. To me, humility is that you're coachable. If you want to come in and argue with your coach or tell them why this will work or why that will work, won't work, this probably isn't for you. So please don't waste our time. I'm not looking for people that lack humility. I'm not looking for people that don't have a certain level of hunger. And I think people smarts, just having some good communication skills, being open and honest with your coach. Now, I had one client explain it like it's like you filleted me open and I had to reveal it all to you and you see what's working and what's not working. And I said, yeah, it's like that, right? You got to just be willing to be brutally honest with yourself and then just take action on what we're asking you to do. So I don't think that's a huge ask to have somebody that's willing to do the work and put some time and money into this and they're motivated. But those are people that make great clients. The opposite is true for terrible clients. They're ones that want to come in and complain, victims, right? It's all everyone else's fault but their own. They don't take personal responsibility. Those are the people we just don't want to work with.
Adam, again, thank you so much. I truly appreciate my relationship with the Chief today. And so I think let's wrap with this. If you believe that you're at a place in your business that with the right coaching, the right guidance, that you can elevate your business, you're willing to do the work, you understand that productivity isn't some by a little word in some book on some course, that we truly have to shift how we are doing how we are behaving in our business to really amplify and accelerate our productivity in every aspect. And then can you imagine once you've got that foundation, now you add the tools, you add the VAs, your remote teams, your planners, everything else, how much more productive. Again, the ability to produce that desired result quickly, efficiently, and in the best state possible. That's what we're wishing for you if you're still with us watching this video. So, next steps. So, either below this video, or if you're watching this potentially on YouTube, click the link. It's going to take you to an application form. We talked about you being the right client for Achieve today. And that's what the application form is to ensure that you are a good fit. It is the right time for you. You might be the right client, may not be the right time. It might be the right time, but you just may not be the right fit client. But complete the application form. That's going to go to Adam and the team. They're going to evaluate. They're going to set up a call, have a conversation, and see if this is the right program for you. Again, we've chosen Chief today as our partners. Doesn't mean that you have to, but again, at least do your discovery, at least do your due diligence and see how they can actually help you really quickly shift your productivity mindset so we can start helping you produce that desired result with what we do in terms of our VA services. So, Adam, again, thank you so much for taking the time to share some wisdom. That the 5 key points, I was actually scribbling. I know you can see that I was scribbling away on my notepad because every time I listen to you guys talk about people, I just always some nuggets to take away, a moment of clarity, a moment of, oh yeah, got that. So truly, again, appreciate the time you spent with us today. So again, everybody, thanks so much for being with us. Thanks for watching. And again, either below the video or click the link. Let's get you at least have a call and let's see if we can help you improve and boost your productivity. Bye for now.